Hello. Thought I'd make the most of an alternative backdrop for this week, out in Malta for a blockchain summit. So something slightly different and hopefully not too distracting to look at in the background. In terms of the theme for today, we're really building on the entrepreneurial survey questions where entrepreneurs identified the key areas that they struggle with startups. And this week we're looking at time management. And really the context for this is around the question of there aren't enough hours in the day. And in terms of the reality of that statement, it's somewhat ridiculous in the sense that we're all wrestling with the same number of seconds, minutes, hours in the day. And it's actually more a question of priorities and how we set those priorities and how we accept the decisions that we make in terms of how we use our time. So if we decide that we don't have time to go and pick the children up from school or to go to the school play because we've got a work commitment, it's a difficult decision to make. But if the decision you make is that that's what you've got to do, then the key really is accepting it and not carrying the sort of guilt and the stress that can go with these decisions as you go forward. In that context, I think what we all could perhaps benefit from is looking at the way that we assess our priorities, both in terms of the work-related activities and the financial-related measures that are perhaps a bit more tangible, and how we make sure that the other important things, friends, family, health, well-being, those kind of things, going to the gym, looking after yourself, all these things need to carry an equal weight, but don't necessarily carry an equal financial weight. So actually looking at how you make those judgments is really important. And then, as I say, in terms of the reality, making conscious decisions about these things, and then just accepting that the decision's made, not carrying guilt with you going forward once that decision's been done, is really important. There's a lot of research around time stress and the impact that can have on us in terms of anxiety or eating problems or health problems because of not finding time to exercise, these kind of things. So it's very important that you look at the way that you assess these different elements of what you're doing. And I think in terms of the sort of entrepreneurial aspect, the context here is that for an entrepreneur, particularly in the early days, you've got the whole weight of the business on your shoulders. The time pressures are very real, and that need to have good mechanisms for assessing your own priorities becomes even more important, making sure that you maintain balance. There's nothing, in terms of being an entrepreneur, what you're doing is setting up a business, taking on financial risk with the objective of making a profit. It is not saying that you are committing to 100-hour weeks. It is not saying that you have to be first in, last out. These things do not necessarily have to go along with the territory. And the way that you prioritize and the way that you focus is key. And two key areas that you can think about in terms of preparing for a startup. Firstly, your discipline, so making the most of every minute that you do allocate to a task, not procrastinating, getting on with it, accepting the tasks that you don't want to do, getting things done and maximising the time slots that you give to particular activities, really important. And there's lots of material available around discipline and how sort of effective ways to do that. The other area is around the business plan. So as we've sort of built on through this series of videos, the assumptions and the sort of key metrics that you identify in the business plan are really important. And in the context of priorities over time, if you can get to that sort of one-page view around what's really important, what's going to mean that you're successful, what's going to mean that you're trading in 12 months' time, falling back on those key measures and looking at what you laid out in the plan, looking at least weekly in terms of the sort of dashboard of key metrics is really powerful and really helpful in terms of just assessing what you've got to do, and put some personal objectives in there. Put considerations around family health, well-being. It's your business plan. Make sure that you've got a balance that works for you. So a few things to think about. I'm going to finish up there, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Many thanks.